Welcome to episode 42 of Talking Prisoner. We are honoured to have our guest on our show today. She is a real fan favourite and one of the nicest people you will ever meet. She appeared in 42 episodes of Prisoner in the final season in 1986 and has also appeared in other TV shows and also a movie called The Delinquents alongside Kylie Minogue. We are, of course, talking about Desiree Smith, who played Officer Delia Stout. Welcome to Talking Prisoner.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ken.
And a really nice introduction.
Well, you are. You are one of the nicest people I've ever met. Yeah, I have to say that.
You're one of the nicest people I've met. I do like people, though.
You do. Now, before we start, I just want to mention the Talking Prisoner event, which is in August the 7th. Now, we are nearly sold out of tickets. There's only a small amount of tickets left. It's at 447 Church Street, Richmond at the Harlow Bar. And you are coming, Desiree. You are there.
I am coming, and it'll be free cuddles for all.
Free cuddles for all. So this is an event.
Free cuddles for all.
And Ken, the legend, is making an appearance. He's got legendary status now.
I will be there.
And Maxine and Peppy, aren't they?
Maxine Clipping-Gators and Peppy Trevor. So this is a event for the fans, by the fans. It's going to be a fun afternoon. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, please head to the talkingprisoner.com website, click on events, takes you to another page. It takes 30 seconds and you will have a ticket. Got that out of the way.
Good.
Now, before we get into Prisoner, can we learn a bit about your life growing up? Where did you grow up as a child?
Well, I came to Australia on Fairstar, which later, you're a bit young, Ken will remember. Fairstar was the fun ship in the 80s. I think a lot of snogging went on and a lot of holiday romance, but it was the migrant ship when I came here. So I was born in Luton Dunstable Hospital. I lived at 29 Willow Way, Flitwick. And my dad is an East Ender through and through and very proud of it. So my son is the first baby born out of England in, I think my uncle Tommy, it's something like 600 years. We remained English and we remained East End, which is why I've watched the East Enders from day one. It started on August, I think it started in 1986. 1986, I think it started. But it started on February the 19th of my mum's birthday, and I've watched every single episode.
Really?
And one day the BBC are going to write to me and say, we want you on the show. Wow. I've been thinking that for like the last 35 years and it hasn't happened. So it might not, but in my dreams it does. I came to Australia. I lived in Inkerman Road in Caulfield. And then Mum and Dad bought a brand new A.V. Jennings house in Bundoora, which is where I grew up. I now live in Diamond Creek, which is probably about, I think I'm about 12 kilometres from Mum. I've lost my dad, but from my mum still lives there. And yeah, I was very, 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 very shy as a child, and my mum worried that there was something not quite right with my levels of shyness. So she got me into dancing and drama. Well, that was it. I was out and I was loud, and I suppose in some ways I am still shy, but I've learned that I can hide. I think I learned to hide behind a character to talk. And then I just learned, oh my God, I can talk. But I'd much rather be in a small group with people I know than I would in or if I was in a large party, I'd be the girl going around offering everybody food and drink and I like to make sure everybody else is connected and happy. And I'd feel more comfortable in that role than just standing there, because I'd probably look like some kind of weird wallflower if I did.
What about
I have one sister.
Could you do public speaking?
Sorry?
What about public speaking?
No, I've never done public speaking. Dad just said to me, once I learned to talk, it was like I was injected with a gramophone needle and I never shut up. I have one sister, Trudy, who a lot of the Prisoner fans will know. She goes by the name Trudy Sparkles. She's my best friend, and yeah, the friends I've had in my life have been friends from where I grew up when I was a little girl and stayed friends over the years. I have two. When I got married, I got two beautiful stepchildren who are grown up, and I have three beautiful grandchildren through them. and I have two gorgeous kids of my own who are not kids. Liam will be 29 in July, and Gemma was 26 on Sunday. And they're both not like me. Gemma can't stand anything.
Hang on, how's that possible when you're in your 30s?
Oh, that's right. I don't know. Yeah, I was talking to the young girl at work today, and I said, the funny thing is, Loredana, I said, you don't feel any different. I said, I look in the mirror and I'm like, who's that? Who's that old lady looking at me? I like, Matt, you know, you're a parent. How long ago was it, you know, that you were looking at them in the cradle? You know, you blink your eyes and they grow up, and it's so fast. Nothing prepares you for that.
And they tell you that when they're born, they go, oh, they grow up so fast. And you're like, no, they don't. They're just crawling.
Remember Mum saying to me, make the most of every moment. Your housework will always be there, which is true. When you got kids, you can clean it. It's beautiful. And by the afternoon, it's looking, oh. And, yeah, you just blink your eyes and they're adults and they're towering over you. And, well, not Gemma. Gemma's my height. That's good. Only Liam towers over me. Yeah, so there, that's a bit of my life in a nutshell. And I have my dogs who I love.
Tell us about your school days.
My school days. Well, I was a little fat daggy kid at school. I look back and I thought I was really fat. I wasn't, but my sister's like a Barbie doll. And when we got to teen years camp, people used to say, men used to go, oh, your sisters. And I go, yeah, same toy box. One come out like Barbie and I come out like Garfield, you know. But I learned to make people laugh. I used to put on performances at school. I was very prone to getting down and singing, it came on like a dream, peaches and cream. I'd sing in all sorts of characters because I can't sing. Yeah, and I think I just found like the tough girls. Obviously, I wasn't a smoker at school. I did start smoking for one stage of my life. When I did Moving Out, Michael Pattinson, the director, said, oh, you know, we thought your character smoked. Yeah, sure, I can do that. I'll give it up. Well, that took me a few years to kick that habit. And I was telling you before, I'm a chronic asthmatic, not the best plan I've had in life, but I thought it was super cool at the time until I realised I really don't like it and gave that up. So the tough girls at school liked me, I think, because I would make them laugh. And I always chat to people, you know. I'm not, I don't care who you are. I think you can always find something in common with someone. So even, you know how at school sometimes even though I was really daggy, but the really daggy girls could also be quite nasty, bitchy like. I'd find that, you know, I'd find something in common with them. And so my school was pretty good. There was a couple of girls that used to pick on me. Oh, I'll tell you, it's a bit of a sad story, but it's also like a loyal story. Mum come back from Hong Kong and she bought me, my school uniform was rusty colour tan. I hate any shade of brown. I love pink and bright colours. That's all I like. Anyhow, Mum bought me this jumper, Ken, and she had embroidered DS, my initials on it. And these girls would call me Down syndrome or dog shit or whatever. And they tried to make my life hell. But I had a good group of friends who wouldn't allow that to happen. Anyhow, years later, I'd done Moving Out, and, you know, I'd been on the Mike Walsh show and all this, and I had to go. One was working at a doctor's I went to, and I had to go. She was the receptionist there. Well, you'd think I was her best friend, the way she treated me. And I just thought, see, what's the point of being nasty to someone? Later on in life, you might want to be their friend. I mean, I was polite to her and nice, but I thought, you weren't nice to me at school and you're pretending to everyone like we were best friends, and I'll go along with it for you because I wouldn't do anything to embarrass you, but I hope you've learned a lesson out of this. Yeah, that was my only unnice part. Like my sister brought it up and said, you really were picked on at school, and I was a bit oblivious to it, really. I was just having a laugh with my friends.
Bullying,
yeah.
It's really bad.
Oh,
yeah.
Bullying's awful. That was another conversation I was having today. You know, I look at how I thought I looked when I was younger. In prison, though, I was hideous with that hair, which, by the way, was my own hair, but they cut it short. So it went really like an afro. My dad had this color hair, my color hair. He had a white afro his whole life. He was so groovy in the 70s because he was rocking those purple pinstripe. He had a purple pinstripe suit, and the tie he had for going out had spots on it. He was so with this wild halo of hair. But when I did Prisoner, my thyroid had stopped working and my hair went incredibly curly. Then when I had Liam, my thyroid just went to pieces and my hair started to fall out. It is curlier than this, like I blow dried it straight today, but by the end of the day, it's kicking its way up again, but not like the Prisoner hairstyle. But you look back, you know, you say about bullying, you actually, I look at young people now, young girls in their teen years and young boys, you know, complete with the pimples and everything. And they're absolutely beautiful because they've got this glow of youth and possibility about them. But I bet they look in the mirror and they don't see what we see. You know, bullying's a terrible thing. I've never been a bully in my life. And that's one thing. That'd be something I'd strike you off my list. I would never bully you back, but I would never choose to be in your company for longer than I had to because I don't like it. I love people, you know, whatever color, whatever gender, whatever preference, whatever religion, I don't care. What I'll get out of that is something to learn, something I don't know about. And yeah, I love it. I love difference in people. I love the uniqueness. I work with little children. I went back and studied that. I started doing that work and then I loved it so much I studied it. And what I love about is their truth and their acceptance and their honesty and the fact that when they don't know something about difference, they ask and then they know and then that's okay. Whereas we sort of think, oh, I can't ask, I can't do this. And, you know, I think I probably always was a kid who did ask. I remember going to, oh, I talk too much, I'm sorry. I remember, sorry, and just put the hand up when you need to talk. I went back to South Africa when we went to South Africa on the way back to England one year. And it was when all the apartheid stuff was going on. And there was a lovely, you know, what are they called? The people who open the door for you and do all those nice things in a hotel. And he was obviously a darker African man. And he said to me, oh, one day we need to stop talking. And I said, oh, why? He said, it's not good for a little white girl to talk to a black man. And of course, here, we didn't have any of this sort of segregation and stuff that goes on there. And it's one of those things that stuck to me. I could not understand it as a child. I just didn't get it. And then when I was older, I was like, oh, I did go on a Kentucky tour with a lot of people from South Africa in the late 80s, where there was still a lot of negative feelings towards people of colour. And I was like, oh. And then I started to think I wasn't sure about South Africans. Now I've got some really good friends who are South African and realised they were just a little minority group on my bus tour. But it was very draining, their negativity. And yeah, I think, you know, I like difference. I love learning about religions. I love different religions and I find the basis of them all is pretty much the same. Be kind, speak kind, think kind, do kind. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Don't take what's not yours as well. Problem solved. I might run for the next Prime Minister.
Yeah, you'd be great. But you know, bullying hasn't changed at all. I was bullied
Not at all.
big time as a child. And to the point where I left.
You were?
Oh yeah, huge. That's a whole nother story, but that was so long ago. But also there was a girl on a current affair last year. She was 14 and she was in hospital because of bullying. And it touches my heart, but she was at the same school that I went to. It came out that it was the same school. Bullying hasn't changed.
Really?
They do whatever they want.
And you think
we've fixed it. No, it hasn't been fixed. It's a massive.
No, it hasn't. And sadly, social media is such a positive thing and such a wonderful way of connecting. You know, like you were asking about when I grew up, we had one phone call a month to my nanny and granddad in England. It was on a Sunday night at 6 o'clock, I think. Or Sunday, it might have been late Sunday afternoon. Once a month, and we'd all take turns on the phone. you know, they never saw us growing up apart from the photographs. Now you can talk to people and see them. There's so many positives, but for young people, there's so much, I don't know, and so many people wanting to, I think, creating their identity through social media. That's not who your identity is. It's, you know, the people that you sit next to on the couch and the people you sit down and have a coffee with, not strangers.
No, people are
You
the
know,
first
like,
to write something negative about someone on social media. They
yeah,
like straight
like
away they
why?
write something negative, but as soon as there's a positive to write about something nice, you don't hear from them. They're just
No,
gutless people.
no.
I've got no time for them.
It is gutless. It's gutless, and it's at. I go on the Diamond Creek community page, and you know, people will write things like the train lines, the boom gates are down because we've still got, you know, across the road crossing and a single lane to get from one side of Diamond Creek to the other, and it's a bugger when it goes down. But you know, other people, like somebody wrote, "Be careful, there are kangaroos out." So the road that comes into Diamond Creek is called the Windy Mile, which again is a single lane windy road. I touch wood, I have never hit an animal, and I would be in pieces if it happened to me. People write negative stuff about that.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with people? Do you have nothing going nice in your life that you've just got to be smart-assy and mean? Yeah, I'm really sad you were bullied, Matt. I think it's a terrible thing. But look at you now. And here's a story. I don't know if it was a compliment or not. I went to a drag show years ago, and at the end of the show, one of the drag queens come up. He goes, "Oh, you're that little fat girl from the ABC show, A Death Camp for Gossips," which I did with Annie Phelan, which is where I met Monty, her dog, that I was telling you about before. And he goes, "I looked at you and I thought, if that little kid can make it, so can I," because he was obviously a chubby guy too. He was telling me at the time, he worked at the Royal Melbourne Hospital as a social worker in the palliative care. And I was like, I was so honoured that he told me that's why he started performing. He knew, you know, that that's what he wanted to do. And he was sensational at it. But it was like, he was telling me, I got so bullied at school. And I said to him, well, so did I, but I was a little bit oblivious to it. And the good thing about when I got bullied at school, it stopped at school. It stopped there. It didn't come into my home life via my phone or my laptop or whatever. It stopped there. I went home to people who cherished me and loved me. And look, my mum was skinny, size 8, beautician, very, very, my mum is still around. She's 86 and amazing. She's very pretty lady. And my sister, like I told you, is like a Barbie doll. Never once did they ever say to me, "Oh, you should be on a diet," or this or that. They never made me feel anything. And my sister still does. She still makes me feel absolutely beautiful, you know, regardless of, you know, whether I'm sporting a size 22 or a size 16. And the dream to be in the size 12, I feel, will never happen. But she,
you are beautiful.
You know, oh, thank you. She's, you know, that's the difference. I would go home to a totally loving home at that outside world. And I think that's how, you know, I said I was a bit oblivious to it, was because I was so loved at home. It didn't matter. And yeah, you know, I'm saying, look at the people who are watching you now and go, wow, you know, Matt didn't let that bullying determine who he is or in any way allow his mind to define that that's him. He's, you know, got a great life going and, you know, a beautiful family and a successful business. And, you know, I hope that people who are getting bullied can see that there's a way out. The trouble is with the bullies. True. They're the ones who need fixing. We don't need fixing. We're perfect how we are. Yeah.
That is true. I love that. Speaking of your mum and dad, what did they do for work when you were younger?
Well, my dad actually came to Australia as a tailor. He was well known in London. He was really good at he was a cutter. So he'd cut all the patterns. So when I got into making all my outfits in the 80s, because, you know, it was a very avant-garde fashion in the 80s, he could, and I always made mistakes, he could cut anything up. But then he got a job at Qantas, and that was the best thing ever because we got to fly home. No, Daisy's at the doors. striking the door to come in.
Let her in.
She's the mother of Daphne. And so Dad worked for Qantas, and yeah, that was really good. And my mum was a beautician for Lancome, so you know, I was surrounded by beauty. And yeah, that Mum did that. She did have a job when we first come to Australia at Duncan Rubber, and she worked with this nice man Walter, who gave me a musical doll, but she got her arm very badly burnt there. That was really awful. Oh. But then she got the job working. Well, she started working for another, I think, Rimmel, the English company. Then she got to work for Lancome, and that was lovely. And every time I was sick as a child, I'd put her dressing gown on so I could smell her face cream on it, which was a Lancome, and I still love that face cream to this day.
That smell, yeah.
Yeah, so they worked at those jobs pretty much most of my childhood through till they retired. They stayed in the same job. Yeah, and my sister works in. Well, she used to work. She was like the assistant to the Australian designer fashion buyer. So she worked in the corporate world, and now she works in Aboriginal housing, and it's just been like a gift to her. They've paid for her to do so many courses, and she's a life coach now, and she's really so passionate about, because the corporate world can be quite everyone having a go at one another, but she's just found her place, and she's been doing that. I think I've been in my job. I work for local government. Like I said, I went back and studied I studied early childhood education, and then I did extra in disability, because I have a lot of children at my centre who have additional needs, and I love it. I absolutely love working with kids. I miss acting terribly, but for 20 years I taught drama at a disability service, and I had a performing group where we went to schools and primary schools and this is again talking about the beauty of children. My drama group would go and perform in schools, and would perform at festivals around Victoria, and the kids, when they were called Dream On Productions, which was one of we were going through all these names, and then one of my guys, Michael, I said some silly crazy name, and he goes, "Oh, Desi, Dream On." And I said, "Is that it, Michael? Is that the name of our group? Dream On Productions." So we did that, but I kept getting met with a lot of, there's a lot of in disability, there's a lot of, you know, just put a video on for them. Well, I had bigger dreams than that. And then I got very sick and had to stop working, but I did that for 20 years. So I got to perform every week.
You know, Kate Hood teaches all the disabled people as well. Do you know that?
Yeah, I saw that. Did I see it on here?
Maybe.
Did I see it on Facebook? I've definitely seen that. Kate's a lovely. Yeah. She was always beautiful to me. Yeah, I love Kate. Yeah, so, but we'd go out to the schools. Do you know, the children would never say things like, "Were you born like that?" or ask about the disability. The questions they would ask were, "Did you always want to be an actor?" You know, they saw the ability, they didn't see the disability. Yeah. And I absolutely loved it, and I miss it. I miss doing it. I really miss it. But I had to leave because it was getting to where it was going against what I believe people of disability are capable of doing. You know, and a lot of it was staffing issues, that you know, you have to have the right staffing ratio. So my drama group, we weren't going out, and I would say to the other staff, you know, let's do some drama all together. But of course, people who haven't done drama are sometimes it's scary to do. And so you're working with disability support workers who've never done drama, they don't want to do it. So, you know, you'd put a video on, and I'd been getting upset about this, that, you know, performances were getting cancelled, and then I got really sick, and I just had to take time off. And then poor Gemma got really sick and ended up with chronic fatigue syndrome. So then after that, I had to be a mother. So I didn't get back into it. But a few years ago, I was teaching drama, and my daughter, she's a nurse, so my gosh, I could not be a nurse. I would faint I'd not faint at the blood. I don't like people being in pain. So that would stress me out and make me feel weak. She came and helped me do the drama and she absolutely loved it. And now she does nursing at a centre that has a lot of people with a disability and she absolutely loves it.
Oh, wow.
I think she's always been around people with a disability, so she has that passion for them and for making the world better.
Amazing.
Yeah.
When did you know when did you know you wanted to be an actress, and what did your parents think when you told them?
Oh, Ken, they were great because I've had asthma today. Sorry, I'm sorry I keep coughing. I did take some Ventolin before, so I was hoping it wouldn't happen. I think I always wanted to be an actress. Right through high school, I did drama, and they weren't offering enough. I had a very, very old-fashioned high school principal, and her words were, "Oh, we won't be having drama." So like by the time I come to Form 5, Form 6, where you're wanting to do it more as a serious subject, because only one type of girl does acting, they were her words. And my drama teacher told me that. She was furious. So she sent me to Arena Theatre it's in Hawkesbury. And I was just so fortunate. I thought that Michael Pattinson came out there to just to audition, but apparently on this particularly hot day, I used to meet my friend Liz in the city because she worked in the city. What did I say? If you come in this room, it was quiet time. Yes. Oh, she said to me. We went to the art gallery and it was a very hot day. I mean, I'd never do it now. I'm so germ phobic. We were swimming away for our lives in the art gallery moat. You know where all the water comes down? Swimming in that dirty water there. And apparently he'd spoke to us there and I told him I was going to drama school. I'm just going to let Daphne out. Is that okay?
Of course.
Oh, Daph.
I'll interview Ken while you're gone.
Oh, Matt, you fell down. Hang on. That's enough. Out.
That's you out, Matt.
I'll head
You've
off.
been told by Desiree, get out. Go on, off you go.
They're gone now.
So what did you just jump in your clothes and went into this water?
Oh, yes. No, please, Matt, I wasn't stark naked. I probably would have taken my skirt off and swam in a singlet, a t-shirt and knickers. But I've never been one to wear see-through knickers, so that would have been perfectly appropriate. Yeah, and then we got on the train and went off to drama school. And then a few weeks later, Michael Pattinson turned up there. Now, I forgot about that. I totally had no recollection. I caught up with Michael a few years ago and he told me, the first time I met you, you were swimming. And I thought, this girl's a bit funny. And so he followed me out to there and then asked me to audition for Moving Out, which was his first feature film, Jan Sardi's first film that he wrote. And here I obviously got the part of the very bogan Helen who, had all the lines like, "Oh, fancy copping out of my party to go to a walk party." And, "Oh, geez, what a pack of dead shits." I mean, I never spoke like that. I wore a mini skirt, moccasins. Years later, Kylie invited me to a party in London when she was living in London. She goes, "You wouldn't have," when I was over there, obviously I didn't have a mini skirt or moccasins on me because they're the most uncomfortable.
Are you saying Kylie Minogue or?
Yeah, she said to me, "I wanted you to come and so I could show them you in that outfit," because I was trying to explain what a bogan looks like. Yeah. Yeah, I miss Kylie. We kept in touch for a long time. And then, of course, both of us, I think I had kids and she became a superstar.
Well, I'm going to move.
Yeah, I loved her.
I'm going to move the interview forward a little bit because just keep an eye on.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I'm going to move on to The Delinquents, which you did alongside Kylie. Now, it's a 1989 Australian movie called The Delinquents. was directed by Chris Thompson, and it was Kylie Minogue's first movie, and you played Mavis.
Yeah.
How did you get the part of Mavis?
My agent rang me up and asked me to audition for it. I didn't know a lot about it. And she said Kylie was in it. And I knew Kylie from Channel 10. So, you know, I was like, oh, that'll be fun to do. And yeah, I went to Sydney. They flew me to Sydney, which, you know, was like, so I'd worked with the ABC and, you know, Channel 9, Channel 7, Channel 10. They didn't do things like that. You know, flew up to Sydney, did the audition, and then a few weeks later, I think I got told I'd got the part, and then flew to Queensland to do it. And it was the first film made at the movie studios, the first Australian film. Sorry, they filmed an American show before. The first day we're on set, they'd laid on lobsters. I'd never eaten a lobster. I don't even really like seafood because it just tastes like you've taken a mouthful of the sea to me. And anyhow, they laid on these lobsters, and Kylie and I got the lobster to try. Couldn't get it out of its shell. Didn't know that you had to go and get these special nipper things. So I sat there digging at this thing, thinking, oh, I'd never order this again because it takes you an hour just to get a tiny bit of meat out. And then the two producers were Jewish, and of course they don't eat shellfish, so they were no help at telling us how to eat these things. Yeah.
You probably already know this, but you knew David Bowie was attached to this movie at some stage?
Yes, I did. Oh, now, God, I would have been excited if I got to meet him. Imagine that.
So he pulled out because
Sammy Davis, though.
Sorry?
I did meet Sammy Davis on Prisoner.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah. But
okay, I'll wait.
No, sorry. Just going back to the Delinquents for a moment, because David Bowie was going to be associated with it, but it was actually based on the 1962 novel by Australian writer Deirdre Cash, who Ken probably knows, who wrote books under the pseudonym of the Irish name of Creina. Is that right?
Creina Ronan, I think, or Creina Rowan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her second.
So I got a copy of that book.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. But you told me something I didn't know. She had another name, and then years later, I met a girl, and I can't remember where I met her now. Like probably at a party or something, and that was her mum who'd wrote it, and it had been based on her life. And I'll tell you something else.
She died in 1963 from cancer. She was very young when she passed away, like 38 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awful, isn't it?
But then David Bowie got upset because he thought that book should have been the movie, but the movie was very different from the book. And
the movie was very different. The movie was very Americanized. Brownie wasn't American in the book. The movie was very, very Americanized. Which is a shame because we do such great shows here.
Definitely.
You know, I was just telling someone today, I'll pretty much always watch anything on any Australian drama on the ABC. Yeah, I may not like the storyline, but I'll pretty much always like the acting. And I'm watching. Have you been watching Barons at the moment?
No.
It's really good. It's set in the 70s, and it's like it's almost like a rivalry between. And they say it's loosely based on like the Billabong Rip Curl thing. But I'm really enjoying it. Some great characters in it.
Wow. And also
watch it on ABC iView.
I will check it out. Tears on My Pillow, the song that Kylie Minogue did for that movie, The Delinquents, was actually originally done by a band called Little Anthony and the Imperials in 1958 and sold over 1 million.
Yeah.
Back then.
She did a beautiful version of it though, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I listened to it the other day. It's great.
Yeah, I love that song. And do you know what song I do also love by Kylie, especially for you? I love that song.
Was that with Jason Donovan?
Yes. I love it. I still think it's a beautiful, just happy song.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was going to tell you something. So talking about The Delinquents and how bad, so it was filmed in Queensland. So the crew went out, they were looking for locations to shoot. And they were along the banks of what is the river in Brisbane called? The river that runs through the town. It'll come to me at 3 a.m. when I go to bed tonight. So they were along the banks there, and they were accosted by the police and had to prove they had money in their pocket, because vagrancy was still a law back in 1989. So if you got pulled over like on the bank of a river or in a public place and you didn't have money in your pocket, and imagine that now, everybody carries key cards. Yeah, they had to show their ID to the police and that they had money.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah.
Ken.
Yes, you played Angela in Neighbours in 1985. How did you get that part, and what was it like being in the show, and what do you think about Neighbours being axed this year after 37 years?
I think it's a tragedy. Somehow they should have kept it going. I mean, look at it. I was telling you about, I've watched EastEnders from day dot. You know, it's still going. My mum still watches Neighbours and Home and Away. She's watched them from the beginning. I think it's really sad. I loved working on it. I would have just got a call from my agent, but of course the director was Maxine's husband was Maxine's boyfriend at the time. Do you remember Andrew Friedman?
I know the name.
So Maxine was there. So of course doing Neighbours was a very joyful experience, because I knew Maxine before we did Special Squad, and I just started driving. I had a little lemon Datsun 1600, and I said to Maxine, yeah, I'll drive you home. I didn't even know where she lived. I'll drive you home because, you know, I can drive. And the two boys, she'll remember. Maxine remembers absolutely everything. She is an exceptionally smart person.
Yeah.
And when we have conversations, it'll be 2-3 hours on the phone, and she'll go, are you there? I'll go, yeah, I'm just listening, because you make me laugh so much. So Maxine goes, can we give the boys a lift back into the city? We got so lost. And this is back in the day where I didn't even have a Melways. Somebody had bought me a Gregory's road map, which was half the size of a Melways. Lucky our eyesight was good. Maxine's having to read the map, and I'm starting now to panic because I have no idea where I am. And, you know, I'm a very inexperienced driver. But that was my first meeting with Maxine. We had a ball, and we both had some sort of freaky mohawky haircuts for that. And so working on Neighbours was lots of fun, because I was working with Maxine. I worked with Darius Perkins, who was just a lovely guy. And I knew him. No, I wasn't a really big party goer, but if it was somebody's birthday, like in the industry, I'd go to that party. So it was good fun.
Sad loss losing him, though. He was a great actor.
Oh, very sad, very sad. You know, I look at the people from Prisoner, you know, 2 who've gone, and they're just like Gerda, you know. She had an aneurysm too, didn't she?
Yeah.
You know, she was so calm and beautiful, and just she went too soon. Yeah, it's very Taya Stratton, you know, just awful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but like I told you before, I believe we've made these connections because we will connect. We'll keep on connecting.
Well, we
just in a different plane or a different place.
Come on, about the afterlife.
Yeah.
You are an after. Well, I want to ask you and Ken. So you're an afterlife believer. You believe there is.
Yeah.
After this.
I do not feel like when I first met you in person, I was like, I like this person. I really like him. I know that I like him. But it's almost like I feel there's like a thread of connection. It's like there's like a physical connection that I feel, that I know that I like this person, you know, and maybe that's because we've crossed before, we've crossed paths, or we're going to cross again, or I just think that's why we connect with people, and why we love people is because there's more than just this. It doesn't make sense just to be here in this little zone for 80, 90, 100 if we're lucky years. Yeah. You know, we were talking before how quickly time goes, especially when you're a parent, look, you know, I was telling my son's 29 and wow, I blinked my eyes and, you know, where did that go? You know, well, if I live to be 90, that's only 3 times that. And I can tell you that only feels like it was 5 years ago I was having him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it doesn't make sense to be here for that short time. And yeah,
No,
and I told you the story of my dad, you know, and the dog being there when he was passing over. And yeah, I do believe.
What about you, Ken? You a believer or a non-believer?
I believe that everything that's happening right now will happen over and over and over again. So that's not telling you anything about what happened.
But it's true, it will. People will keep talking.
So you reckon the records
Technology
on
will change. In 50 years' time, we'll probably be able to zap each other into the same space. It won't just be on a little screen. Or maybe a holograph of ourselves. That's probably happening somewhere.
I do think there is, but I have trouble with why the good people get taken so young and so dramatically. They exit this world in a really bad way. And then there's people that don't deserve to be here, you know, and they're still here and they don't deserve to be here. So that's where I go, why does that happen? Why is someone upstairs going, well, let's take that good person who's 12 years old, but we'll leave the 70-year-old bad person, he can still live. Well, that's the bit I don't understand.
I don't get that. I don't understand that. The only thing I can think is when, you know, when bad things happen in your life. I mean, if you believe that the next place we go to is better than here, and I'm not saying, because I believe that religions are often interpreted by what people have written. I believe the basis of all religions have the same message: be kind. You know, that's it. That's so simple. I think that, you know, the bad person has a lesson to learn, and when bad things happen to us, we will grow from that. We don't always know why at the time, but, you know, I know with my own life, I've lived through some horrific things, and I've lost a child, you know, halfway through a pregnancy. I had to give birth to him, and, you know, I cried, and I went to Mum's house and just laid on the floor and cried and cried. And it was like, this isn't fair. I wanted this baby so much. I don't understand. But that medium that I told you I went to, she also told me about him, which there's no way she knew that.
She told you
and
about
she
that?
Told me she told me, yeah, this is what I mean. This is why when I saw her, it was like she just said so many things that were so private that nobody could know unless there is guides there telling her this. And she told me that he was with my dad, and I was crying when she was saying it, like tears were streaming down my eyes, because I was happy. I was happy knowing that, and I know that I'll connect up. You know, he just wasn't meant to be with me here, and I don't understand why that happened, because I love kids. I mean, obviously, I wanted to have a lot of children myself. It didn't happen, but I've got them in other ways. I still really close with my stepchildren and love them. I love them like they're my niece and nephew, because they have a great mum and they have their dad. They didn't need me to be a mum. I've always felt like an auntie to them. But they're not. Look at all the children at work that I've got, you know. Every day I'm surrounded by children, and I'm cuddled and loved, and, you know, I mightn't have given birth to them, but I still have beautiful children in my life. And I think because I work in the area that I live, I see them as adults. You know, I've got to see some of them grow up to adults.
Wow.
At the moment, I'm looking after a beautiful little boy, and I had his big older cousin who's taller than me now. So, yeah, I don't know, Matt. I don't know why bad things happen. But I have to believe that after here is better than here, because we have too much sadness and tragedy here. I'd like to believe that the next place we've learned the lessons from this and it will be better. And if we don't learn the lessons, I think we're just going to keep coming back onto this plane until we learn the lessons. And yeah, I think, you just, Mum always said to me, you don't die until you've learned all the lessons you're meant to learn now. But once you've learned all the lessons on this life, and you look at it, my best friend, you know, I mean, not only Dad with the bleed in his brain, but my best friend died of an aneurysm. And when I look back on her life, do you know how much she crammed into her 34 years? Oh my God, she never stopped. She did every course under the sun. She travelled everywhere. She taught in Aboriginal communities because she wanted to make a difference. And I think it's almost like she had an underlying knowledge that her timeline wasn't that long.
Wow.
So she was going to put it all in. Yeah. I don't know. We could talk about it. And you know, the more people that talk, the more things we'll learn and we might take on board. And yeah. But I like
that's a whole other thing.
I'm going to connect with my dad. I know I am. I know he'd be waiting there with his hand out when it's my time to cross over.
Now, Ken, should we move on to Prisoner?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're meant to be doing.
Now let's get to one of the greatest Australian TV shows of all time, Prisoner. You appeared in 42 episodes of Series 8 in the final year of the series in 1986. I was there.
Yes.
Episode 630 and 679, when Delia disappeared without explanation. We'll have to ask you about that. How did you get the role of Delia, and had you ever auditioned for any other role in the show before?
No, I'd never auditioned for any role, and I just got offered the role of Delia. I think I'd met Jan Russ a few times with different things. So, you know, I love Jan Russ. Now there's a lady to look up to. Yeah, and Jan, I think Jan might have been instrumental in getting the role in Prisoner. And I have no idea why I disappeared. I think what happened was they learnt that the show was getting axed, and the writers just forgot about my character because she disappeared. But she did years later propose to Marty. Matt will testify to that.
Yeah. So Jan Russ, I mean, the casting director of Neighbours and Prisoner,
Yeah.
she's responsible probably for half of the actors' those careers.
Oh, she should get an award. She, you know, at the Logies,
The Jan Russ Award.
there should be an award for her because she has been like her. Greg Apps is another one who's worked. Well, he might still be working for many years. He was originally with the ABC, so he, you know, he was the casting director who cast me in Desk Camp for Gossips, and I think he did the Ship and Mystery too, but that could have been someone in Sydney. Yeah, you know, but Jan Russ deserves an award, definitely a Lifetime in Australian TV award.
Definitely.
Let's write to the Logies and get that happening.
Yes, let's do that. Now, when we spoke on the phone a while back, and you were telling me a great story about, you know, when they've sent you off to get your uniform fitted for Prisoner, the officer's uniform. Can you tell the fans about that?
It was a little old, like a tailor shop in I think it was Collins Street in the city, and yeah, I had to go and get it was god awful uniform. It's just dreadful. Had to go and get this, and the man was so serious making the uniform. And I think I was telling you too about the Ship and Mystery, getting things sized up. So getting that terrible uniform sized up, and you know, when it came back, I was like, oh my God, you've got to be joking. I looked like Humpty Dumpty in it. But when I did the Ship and Mystery, another case of sizing things up, my character dies in that. It's based on a true story. And there was a coffin. And I was like, oh, that coffin doesn't look the right size. It looks way too small. And very, like, straight-faced, he said to me, we've actually measured it on your measurements. And I was like, he goes, you can get in it and try if you want. I'm like, oh, no, I'll be passing on that one. I'm not getting into a coffin. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Sorry, Matt. Gemma, I'm here. I thought she's calling out upstairs to me, having a whole conversation because she's just come in and I'm here. She doesn't even know I could hear her calling out and telling me, I'll take you to work tomorrow.
That's right. Ken, a question.
Did you get any character breakdown on Delia, and what did you think about her?
Yeah, well, she sounded nice on my character breakdown of Delia. She sounded nice. She also sounded a little bit like me, I feel. You know, if I was a prison officer, I would definitely be like Delia. Absolutely, definitely. But yeah, she just sounded a lot like me, which was a little bit worrying.
Actually, that was one of my questions. Is there similarities between, well, I think there is because I know you, but yeah, between you and Delia, you think that?
Yeah, because Delia, yeah, I would be exactly like her. Absolutely. If I was a prison officer, I would be believing in everyone because I do believe in people. And yeah, I probably, Trudy always says to me, I'm a very gullible person. So yeah, I probably would be thrown overboard. That would happen to me.
Yeah. Now, had you watched Prisoner before you got the part? Was it a show you were hoping to get on?
I watched. Oh yeah, I think everyone. You know, I used to sneak watch Prisoner in the beginning. Remember when Frankie was in it and all that? Probably when that started. Oh, you know, my dad was a bit strict. You know, only having daughters, he was not going to have, you know, daughters who might go a bit wayward. Even though I laugh about my dad's family. They're all a little bit of Tetley tea leaf, so I can tell you that. But yeah, I did used to watch it in the beginning. I think when I went on it and it came on, by that stage, I was off to the Chevron on a Tuesday night and I was at another club on a Thursday night.
Chevron.
So, you know, I didn't see it. I don't think we did used to have a Betamax recorder, but it was always recording mum's stuff. So yeah, I had seen Prisoner beforehand and I enjoyed it.
Well, that was my story as well. My mum was a massive fan, and I'd sit behind the couch without her knowing, looking through the little, watching it. Then she'd catch me and she goes, "Oh, well, you can come and sit with me." And
isn't it funny though now, Matt? You look at it and you think, well, I mean, it's nothing like the violence that you see on TV now. I mean, it was more about the women's stories, wasn't it? I mean, apart from Val and the burning people's hands, that's kind of drastic. But you know what you see on stuff now is so violent. Like I laugh about a lot of American shows where they'll blur out, you know, you would never see a breastfeeding woman or God forbid the genitals of an animal, but you know, you can watch someone blowing someone's head off, that's okay. But a little bit of nudity, or you know, please don't. Because for many years, didn't they? The Americans still wore the, you know, the Tom Cruise knickers, the big white front undies.
It's bizarre that it's like Sons of Anarchy. I don't know if you've ever seen Sons of Anarchy, but
Liam loves that show.
I love it, but they're not allowed to swear on it, but they can cut fingers off and they can cut heads and shoot people and all sorts of things, but they can't say the word fuck or shit, or which I've just said.
Yeah, but, yeah, it's bizarre.
I'm supposed to say that.
Hey, we're our own platform here. We can do whatever we want.
They're just words.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yes, they are. And just imagine if a swear word was something like bread. You know, what the bread do you think you're doing? You know, it's only a collection of letters.
I know, we need to bring back the old word spunk. I've decided that's a good word. I said it to someone the other day, oh, he's such a spunk. And they're like, what?
Well, Ken was a bit
like, oh, come on, there were some good words in the 70s.
I think we better get back down to normal.
Yeah, probably.
We first see Delia arriving alongside her fellow trainee officers, Marty Jackson and Rodney Adams. And it's obvious from the start that Delia and Marty are the most likeable of the three of them. Do you remember your first day on set, and what was it like coming in with Michael Winchester and Phillip Hyde?
Well, I was very excited to see Michael because I told you about the Ship and Mystery, the film with the coffin. Michael played my brother in that.
Oh, you knew Michael?
Yeah, I knew Michael.
Oh.
Michael and I were brother and sister in that show. And it's based on a true story of Bertha Shippen, who was murdered in South Australia at the sort of, I think it was 1901. And the sister, Mary Shippen, was accused of the murder. Very strange family, German family. And so Michael and I had played brother and sister. So the day that it came, I was very excited to see Michael. And of course, Phillip was a very confident man. Yeah, and it was a good, happy vibe starting. And Elspeth I knew because Elspeth's sister Jane had been the producer of Moving Out. So yeah, lots of little connections.
You did Bronya Boys with Elspeth, didn't you? Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
What was that like?
And Maxine, that was good fun. And good fun to be working with her again as well.
Yeah.
You know, a bonus, because by then, you know, my acting career had sort of stopped. So to do that was, yeah, really good.
Wow, great. Yeah. So we asked you about Michael. So what was it like working with Phillip on Prisoner?
Phillip was always lovely. Yeah, Phillip was always lovely. He was always, you know, upbeat and enjoyable to be around. And yeah, sometimes I think, you know, sometimes with actors you see a little bit of the haughtiness of the character coming out, but yeah, he was a nice guy.
Was there anyone you were particularly looking forward to working with when you started? Was there anyone you were particularly looking forward to working with?
I was probably looking forward to working with Elspeth. And Gerda, I loved Gerda, and you know, I just thought she was a great actress. And then I got on the show, and I really loved the people I worked with. I loved Kylie Belling. I had a really nice relationship with her. Yeah. I was only thinking about her the other day. I remember she was living, I think it's Port Melbourne, and you know, now I think, oh my God, imagine if we had the money then. Because we did, if we bought in Port Melbourne, you know, like you would have been made because it's so expensive now. But she was living there paying rent because it was cheap. Cheryl Monks, when she came into it, because Cheryl and I worked together, we worked for the Shire of Diamond Valley. There was a funding for theatre in education, and we used to go around to schools and perform. So I was so excited when Cheryl was joining. Who else was I excited to? I was a bit scared of Maggie. I thought, you know, she's a big star. What if she's not friendly? Because, you know, you do find this from time to time. But she was lovely. She said to me once, she goes, "You're okay, kid. You're the only one around here who doesn't give me the shits." So, yeah, that was, I was just excited knowing I was going to meet new people and, yeah.
Yeah. Kylie was great. She came on not long back, Kylie Belling. She was fantastic.
Oh, she's such a, I mean, I haven't seen Kylie since those days, but I always enjoyed hanging out with her. And Nicola Paul, she used to doodle. She taught me how, and I still do them, little doodle patterns. She did like ink doodles everywhere, and she taught me how to do that. Yeah, it was a nice time. You know, I can't say anyone wasn't nice because they were. Everyone was nice. I love Joy. You know, she was always beautiful. I think that time she was married to a dentist. She could never understand that I'd sucked my thumb. I sucked my thumb for way too many years. She could never understand that I hadn't had braces, but I'd sucked my thumb. She was very good friends with Elspeth. I loved Marion Dimmick. You know, Lynn Ford, really, those ladies were just beautiful to me. They were like mothers on the set. They were really nice. Paula Duncan used to rush in at 1 o'clock. Oh, I was probably a bit in awe of Paula Duncan because I was a mad Cop Shop fan. Paula Duncan used to run into the green room, I think it was at 12 o'clock every day, turn the telly on so she could watch Days of Our Lives. And I found that funny because she was young and beautiful. And I thought that was like the show that my nanny watched, not what younger women watched. Yeah.
Amazing. We've answered my question. Ken, we'll move on to yours.
Delia was treated as a bit of a joke by the prisoners, who nicknamed her Piggy Stout, and some of the officers, namely Joan Ferguson. Do you think she was good officer material, as she wasn't particularly tough or emotionally strong, but she had empathy?
Yes.
Yes. I think that you should believe in people. I think she was good officer material. You can't tell me that the freak was good officer material, because she was cruel and horrible. I think they all picked on Delia, but Delia was the only one who really did care about them. And, you know, believed that when they'd get out that they would have a life that was lovely.
Yeah, that's true. Now, you told me something interesting before we come on about a non-smoking green room. Now, can you tell the family about that?
Well, I have had my flu shot every year since prisoner, because I got the flu when I was on prisoner and I was so sick and swore I'd never be sick like that again if I could avoid it. And being an asthmatic, and I'd given up smoking by then, even though I smoked for a few years before it, the doctor used to have to come out every day and he'd give me an injection, and I was on antibiotics, and he sort of said, she can't be in this room, because I'd go on and film my scenes, and then I'd have to come off and I would just fall to sleep until somebody would wake me up to go on again. So they made me a green room for myself. It was a broom cupboard. It was a broom cupboard, and there was a tiny little bed at the end that must have been some kind of a prop bed, because I'm 5'3" and I think I just fitted on it. And then it stayed after that. So there was this tiny room that you could go to if you were a non-smoker and you wanted some quiet time. It was the first non-smoking green room, which was really a broom cupboard.
And isn't it amazing to think, I mean, back then you could smoke on a plane, you could smoke in a restaurant, you could walk through the
smoke anywhere.
Smoke. I mean, and now, you know, it's great. You don't see
it. Thank goodness. I mean, you could smoke in clubs. I remember, you know, having a top I loved by some smoker had burnt my top.
Yeah.
You know, you could smoke. People just buy their cigarettes. Like, this is nice clubs. You know, I used to go to the Chevron and Chasers, and they were nice clubs. They weren't, you know, some seedy dive that I went to. People would think nothing to butt their cigarettes on the floor.
Yeah, the Chevron on
now you'd never get that.
Road, wasn't it? The Chevron.
Yeah.
Chevron. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah. Wow.
I think it's apartments now.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Do you need me to turn the lights on? It's gotten very dark in here.
Yeah, that's.
Would you like me to to flick the lights on?
You
guys look nice and bright. Hang on, I'll be 1 second.
The red makes us look bright.
It does. You know, whenever I'm feeling I'll always wear hot pink, because I think it reflects up your skin and makes you look better than you are.
Yeah.
So the red's making you guys look very bright.
Now, getting back to the relationship between Delia, Marty and Rodney soured fairly quickly due to Rodney's attitudes and different ways of doing things. It became fairly obvious he was being moulded into a kind of male version of the freak. It would have been interesting to see them at the training school, as it's hard to imagine them getting along. What did you think about the relationship change?
Me or Delia?
Well, Delia. Well, you. I'm having two bob each way.
Me, it's funny, you know, when that sort of happened, it was like we were hanging around together, the three of us, but it was funny because it was like when that happened, Phillip sort of drifted, not drifted away, but there was a difference in the relationship, if that makes sense.
Behind the scenes.
Now, Delia would have thought that was a dreadful thing. She would have been terrified of her life of the freak, but she would have seen through the freak as not being a good person, but she wouldn't have had the guts to go and say something about it. But I mean, I thought it was great for Phillip's character. Like, everybody wants to have that where they get to be I've never been a bad guy in anything. My dream role would have been to be Cruella de Vil. I would love that. Even though, you know, I love animals, I think that would be a great role to play. Yeah, so for Phillip, I thought, oh, you know, he's kind of really lucky because it's really giving his character a really good story to follow. Whereas Delia's character was just sort of floundering. There wasn't, I think when she took them out on the boat, on the work experience thing, there was sort of good potential there. But yeah, her character was not sort of progressing in her career, shall we say. She did make it from trainee to full officer though. Yeah. But yeah, it's quite surprising that she did, really.
You remember that episode where you were trying to prove to Mrs. Reynolds, I'm not sure if you do, but I thought your acting was superb in that office when you that the women stole Rodney's uniform and they were filming something, and then you saw the tape and you caught the tape and you knew it was Rodney's uniform, but he denied it. And then you're trying to prove it to Mrs. Reynolds, and you're just like the really good officer, the one that did everything by the book, and everything was rosy and nice, you know, but you played the part so well. It was a great episode.
I loved working with Gerda. Yeah. I liked doing scenes with her. She was a very gracious actress. You know, I thought she was beautiful, but she was just elegance on a stick. And another actress I really loved who came on was Justine Saunders. You know, when you're younger, how you look up to women. I looked up to her. You know, I thought her and Gerda were just so attractive ladies. They were just, you know, beautiful looking women and accomplished women. You know, being a lot younger, you know, they're the sort of things you look up to when you're younger. And I worked with both. I had scenes with both of them. They're both very, very gracious actresses.
Yeah. Ken, now we just spoke about the boat episode, so we'll move on to Ken's question.
Yes. What was it like filming the Sports Day episode with the tug of war between the prisoners and the officers?
Oh, that was so much fun that day. So much fun. I think I fell over about 20 times doing the tug of rope, but it was you know, I think any day where you're out of the studio too, for the actor, there's an added joy in it, you know, so whilst it was sort of a funny, fun scene for the characters, it was also a fun thing to do for the actors.
Yeah, being outside, something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you remember the scene when Lisa Mullins had cut her wrists following the death of her on-screen boyfriend with Terry Waddell? Do you remember that
Terry
scene?
Waddell, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was it like to shoot?
I used to go and see, now one of her boyfriends was to do with the boys in Boom Crash Opera. Remember that band?
Oh, Boom Crash Opera, yeah. Dale Ryder.
Yeah, but her boyfriend, so that wasn't her boyfriend. Oh my God, I'm going back in mind. But I was telling someone this story the other day. So when, because I never got into the drug scene because, you know, I'm too frightened to be out of my mind in any way, shape or form. I don't even drink because it goes to my head too quick and I may do something ridiculous. But we used to go there beforehand, before we go and watch them play at a gig, and they were always making chocolate cake, and someone sort of raised their eyebrows at me the other day and said, chocolate cake? I said, oh, I like some chocolate brownie sort of thing. And it dawned on me, Matt, it dawned upon me, and I don't know, and I'd love to ask them, was this, like I said, oh, they're a great band. They weren't really into drinking or doing drugs or anything. Dawned on me when I can't remember who it was who was sort of doing a funny face at me, oh, a brownie. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, either chocolate cake or brownie. They always made it before the gig. And then I was like, oh my God, was I that dumb. I had no idea. But then maybe they weren't. Maybe it was just a chocolate cake or a chocolate brownie they were making without any additional ingredients. I don't know. But I was like, I must have been so naive. Maybe, yeah, a lot like
We can
Delia.
get Crash Opera on. We'll ask them.
Yeah, I would love to know. I would love to know whether they were really into home economics or something else.
Great band, though. Great band.
Oh, yeah, fantastic band. And very, 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 very nice people. And, you know, I'm just talking about when I'm younger. And obviously, as you get older, you have a lot more friends who've been into that additional ingredient that may or may not have been in it. But, you know, I just was like so naive, so naive. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was when I was 17 or 18, I was known as the prize prawn at Channel 7 because of that naivety.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, my uncle, you know, he's only a few years older than me. I always remember my nan saying, and I got there and he offered me a bleeding hashish cookie. Well, I wasn't having any of that. I said, you can get that away from me. You know, it was always like, I mean, I think back to when I was young, it was like my uncle was the bad sheep. You know, he's a great guy and was obviously, but I just, I would have been the prawn as well because I just didn't know what was going on around me.
Now, Delia clearly
isn't a bad thing.
Marty.
Yeah, it's not.
Marty and Delia were good friends. Do you think it was all one-sided, or do you think Marty liked her too, or could have grown to like her as more than a friend?
Ken, let's go with Marty. Was bloody obsessed with her. He just was so shy he couldn't show it. Delia knew he was totally in love with her. And that's why it took how many years?
40 years.
How many years? That's why it took 44 years for Delia knew she had to propose to him because she knew he was in love with her. And Michael will back me up on this one.
We should have brought Michael on.
Michael's a lovely guy. Who wouldn't fall in love with him? He's just the most loveliest man. He always was. And I was so excited to see him at the last prisoner thing. And you know what? Time hasn't changed him. If not, no, maybe it has. He's even lovelier because he's a dad now and he's so, you know, talks about his family with such love and it's just beautiful.
And what a talented daughter he has. Have you heard her sing? She's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really amazing, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's so proud of her, which is beautiful.
Now, we've covered a few of the next questions, Ken, so I will ask you, do you have a favourite storyline or episode that you're involved in on Prisoner?
I think I really like the boat stories because I think that really summed up Delia, you know, believing in them that they could do this work experience, and it just all went pear-shaped. I really like that storyline. I need to watch it again because I probably remember the big storylines. Mum's got all the Betamax at her house. Well, we don't have the video player anymore. But she did buy the DVDs, the set. Mum has everything.
Oh, really? She's got the Prisoner DVDs.
Yeah, wow. And the Delinquents, and she's still got the Ship and Mystery and all those things taped on something. We just don't have that video record, you know, the old-fashioned video recorders anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, the other day she presented me with, she said, I found something. It was my prisoner trainee identification badge. So I'll bring that to the prisoner thing.
Oh, wow.
I'll be wearing that on the prisoner. In August, I'll be wearing it.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I was like, I gave so much stuff away. Back in the 80s, it might have been the 80s or early 90s, there was a big prisoner thing and they asked everyone for memorabilia. It was auctioned off. Now, this is when we didn't know anything about HIV. You know, you thought you could get
the 2000
a cup of a gate. Yeah, and so that, and I was just like, yeah, because, you know, obviously when you work in this industry, you have a lot of gay friends, and you know, you can't bear the thought of them dying or being victimized. Or so I donated everything. And so it's funny when little things, mum finds little things, because I think, oh wow, I thought I had nothing left. I don't regret giving it away. I really do not regret giving it away, but it would be nice to see some of the things sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I gave my photographs of Sammy Davis the day he came out away. And of course, I kept the negatives, but, you know, 40 years later, and, you know, having moved house and that, I don't know where they are now. So maybe the person who bought those could do me a photo of it, would be nice.
That would be great.
Yeah, because I don't have that memory.
We do have 3 original prisoner uniforms, which will be at the event. So that's
Oh, really?
yes.
It'd be like squashing back into the wedding dress. Oh my God, that uniform was horrible. And it was like a really thick, unmovable nylon, you know, stuck in it. It was, and the shop it was like going back in time, the shop. And I thought it would be all nice because he took all the measurements, and Dad had been a tailor.
Yeah.
But it had pleats on my stomach, Matt. Now, I am a Humpty Dumpty figure, not the place I want pleats. And I had to wear the shirt tucked in.
Oh,
It was so, and they cut my hair, so my curls just went boing. And yeah, I had it dyed a darker. It wasn't as light as this. Obviously, as time has gone on, I've lost pigment and become a true platinum blonde. But my hair was always blonde. And I look back at the photos. I mean, I always say to Barry, my God, can you find a photo where I'm actually smiling? Considering Delia was such a nice person, all the photos she's really grumpy in.
Now, speaking of things that you've given away, I found online, I had no idea. Last night when I was doing a little bit more, I always like to do some research before the day. You've given away your Delinquents script to Barry.
I did.
Oh my God.
You know why? I love Barry. He said he'll never get rid of it. Good. I know he will never get rid of it. And if ever I want it back, I want it back. But it was sitting in a cupboard, and he just, I said to him, I've still got my Delinquent script. And he said he would like to, you know, would it be okay to see it? Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll get it for you. And he was so like nearly crying when he saw it. And I just knew I had to give it to him, because my kids aren't going to appreciate it. And you know what? It might sell on eBay for $30 or something, but isn't it better somebody who loves it and treasures it has it?
No, you're so sweet.
So, and Barry's been so beautiful to me. You know, when I've been in hospital with pneumonia, he FaceTimes me, and I just think he is my prince. He really is. You know how that? Do you know how that story come about though? It was years ago at one of the prisoner things. He asked me to sign. I thought he said Harry, and I go, oh, who's Harry? Prince Harry. Oh yeah, I'll sign for him. And he goes, Harry. He goes, no, me, Barry. Because he was asking me all other names. I'd signed all of them, and so I said to him, oh, you are my prince. You're my Prince Barry. So that's how the nickname has come around and stuck. Oh, okay. That he is my Prince Barry. Yes, so he's got that on display at his house. He will love it forever. He's such a Kylie fan.
He is.
Yeah. He met her once and he couldn't talk. But I was like that the day that because I was brought up on the Rat Pack. So when Sammy Davis came to town, you know, and came on the helicopter and that, and he came out, and I was doing a scene with Maggie, and look, he was in awe of Maggie, but such a gracious man. There was me, you know, some small-time player, and he grabbed my hand like so, but with both hands, you know. So imagine my hands in the middle of this, and you know, really held it like that. And he said, "Thank you, you know, thank you so much for letting me come out and see." And Matt, I've gone, I couldn't even talk. I was starstruck. Really starstruck. And I always think, because I met other actors along the way, and I will never name them, I've met other actors along the way who are 2-bit snobs and go jump in a lake. I'm not interested. Like I said, won't be nasty, but just don't want to hang out with you or bother trying to make you like me because you're lost. I thought, if that man's so talented beyond measure, can be gracious and humble to another performer, you've got lessons to learn in life.
What a beautiful man he was. I remember reading, it was an interview I watched with him a long time ago, and he was talking about Hugh Hefner. Now, Hugh Hefner, before Playboy, had a talk show late at night in an apartment setting, and Sammy was one of his guests there, and Sammy was looking for the toilet. And Hugh said, it's over there. He goes, no, the toilet's for us. He goes, it's one toilet. Like, Hugh Hefner was so accepted of, back then it was like, black people had to go to a different toilet, which I just spins me out to believe that. But
it does spin you out. How can that possibly be? How can anybody think that somebody's different? Oh, I had at work the other day, and I have to ask my English people out there. So she's an English lady, and she wrote, so I do this thing for the children. I like to know their background, but it's more about knowing their culture so I can include it in the programming for the children. She wrote, white British. And I thought, what does that mean? Aren't you just English? You're English or you're not. You're not a coloured English. I thought, I hope it's not getting like that we have to write our colour down, because we're just going backwards if we're doing that.
Crazy.
Yeah, it really shocked me and worried me. And I'm going to have to ask for clarification on it, because it might not mean something as sinister as I'm thinking. But can you imagine sending someone to a different toilet?
Oh, disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Do you remember the day that Sammy came, Ken? Were you there?
No, I wasn't, actually.
Wow.
I was away on long service or something like that. I wasn't there on that particular day, which I regret now and I'm sorry about, because he would have been something to behold.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's performing since he was like a toddler. He's just so talented, such a talented and lovely, lovely man. Even though I only met him for such a short time, I just thought, to take the time to do that, you really are a gentleman.
Yeah. Wow. What a story. Speaking of good people, Ken.
Tell us, speaking of good people, tell us about Roseanne Hull Brown, who was...
Oh, the loveliest girl. The loveliest lady. She was just such a wise being, just... And so intuitive. She asked me once, could I bring my photos in? And she picked up something terrible that had happened to me at 16 just by looking at the photos, like so spiritual and so wise. And that is one lady I would love to meet up with again. I think she was really, really kind. Yeah, I loved, and her and Kate had a lovely relationship together. And I always enjoyed, if we ever had time out of prisoner with her. She was just, beautiful. Yeah, a really good person. You're right, a really good person.
Yeah. Now the Blackmore episodes when Ray Marr came on the scene, Governor Craven. What was it like working with Ray?
Oh yeah, bad guy. Bad news. Now Cheryl was involved in all of that.
Yeah.
Cheryl Monks, who still lives very close to me now, and she's just become a marriage celebrant.
Yes, I saw that.
I would love to do that, but I'd have to be naturalised first. Love to do weddings. Imagine that on people's joyful days, or baptisms, baby naming days. That'd probably.
Greg Evans is a marriage celebrant now.
Yes. Yeah, that's the perfect job for him, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good, that show Spotlight on the Channel 7 with Rowena and...
Oh, you enjoyed it?
And him. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I love seeing what people are doing.
I took Tony Barber up to the shoot in Sydney.
he is looking good, isn't he?
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's still. I met
82
Tony
years
Barber
old.
once. How old?
82 years old and the mind of a 40-year-old. He just loves life.
He's another gracious man. I met him before I was acting, and was a bit starstruck. I literally bumped into him. I walked right into him, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and he was so nice. Then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're Tony Barber!"
Oh,
and he just sort of made
such a gentleman. When we flew back from Sydney
very
together,
much.
my partner picked us up from the airport, took us down to, we dropped him off at his house. He took my daughter, walked around the gardens in his backyard, showed all the gardens to Grace, and he's just such a gentleman of a man.
How nice.
Yeah,
the world needs more people. It's a shame. I could watch him, like he said on the thing. I'd be still watching him on Sale of the Century. I'd still watch him on TV. I still find him like to listen to his voice, and it's a shame we don't represent older people on TV as well. We very much, I think, after the singing, like Kylie and the singing and all that, I think that Australian TV really went into good-looking, marketable people, and that's in no way saying anything, because I love Kylie. I think she's incredibly talented. I think she was a pioneer, but I think other things, a lot of people followed her who didn't have the level of charisma or talent that Kylie had. Like, she really is talented. She's a performer. That's why she's talented. She's an all-round performer. But it kind of, everything went into the young and beautiful look. And, look, Kerry-Anne Kennelly, I loved her on the show. And all of a sudden she was gone. It was like, oh, what? Did she get too old to be on TV? And I don't know.
yeah.
We need a bit of representation of all sorts, I feel.
That's true.
Tell us about some funny stories or behind the scenes gossip of Prisoner.
Oh, I don't know that I remember lots of things. Now, was it Taya used to like to bake? And she was the first person I ever met that was a vegan or vegetarian. She might have been vegetarian, maybe not vegan. And she'd bring in these food that was amazing. I don't know. Funny stories. I mean, most days were just good fun. I don't know. We had so many laughs in the green room. And, then just that doing like Paula watching Days of Our Lives and just doing those normal daggy funny things. It was just a lot of laughs, and there was a round table in the green room, and you just sit around there and hang out, and in the corner there was like a corner couch, that went around. And I don't remember. Michael and I were talking about a director who was really not a very nice guy, and would be frantic if you didn't hit the exact mark. And sometimes when you're carrying stuff in a scene, it's hard to hit a mark, and that was the only negative side. And I won't say his name, but I'm sure he knows who he was. And it was a bit of a disappointment, because I'd been a huge Play School fan. People on Play School aren't meant to be nasty, grumpy, and I thought it was, and I thought it was just me. But then at the Prisoner event, Michael was talking about, goes, do you remember that scene, where he yelled at me? He said, I was close to tears. And I said, he always had me close to tears, Michael. He was just such an impatient, grumpy person who, considering he'd been a performer, should have a bit of a performance view of it. But now you're going to research who directed.
No, I'm researching now.
Was on Play School. Hey, that was always my dream job, to do Play School.
I could hazard a guess at a few people that I think would have fallen into that category.
Not Tony Osaka.
Oh, no.
Was it? He was a dream. Oh my God, he was a dreamboat. I think I may have had a little crush on him. He was very gorgeous. And Kendall Flanagan used to make me laugh. He was a bit scatty, but he made me laugh. He's no longer with us, though, is he, Ken?
No,
He's passed on.
No.
That's so sad. He's not old enough to have passed on. Yeah, but yeah, definitely not those guys.
Did you have any favourite crew members by any chance?
I did. There was this man, Ken. He was there. He was really nice. I
Ray
remember
Lynn, you
Biggie,
could have
Ken. Do you remember Biggie? I loved Biggie too. And I loved Willie, who did all of our hair and makeup, and Leonie, and was it Bijou? No, what was her name? Bijou. Sometimes I get people confused to different, but Willie was definitely, he and I loved putting on wigs. Oh my God, in that makeup room, we were always putting on wigs. Yeah, really nice. It's only that one guy that was really nasty. Everyone else was, I cannot fault
You know, all the fans are going to go and look this up now, don't you? It's going to be all
well, he shouldn't have been a nasty person, but I didn't say his name. He shouldn't, and I feel better because I mean I don't feel better that he upset Michael. That's not the way I should word it. But I feel better that it wasn't, because you know I'm a sensitive person, so you only have to be, like I said, I was a bit scared of Maggie, but then she said to me, "You're all right, kid. You're the only one who doesn't give me the shits around here," you know. But if you're a bit sort of forceful or gruff sounding, I do step back, you know. But I always give, and you always find out that what you first thought isn't always right. Most people are lovely underneath. Yeah. This director, maybe not so lovely. He wasn't a good director. A good director listens to an actor and doesn't yell at an actor and make them feel nervous, and things about hitting marks. And I know, Ken, I know that the marks are really important for you, but when you're carrying stuff, you can't often see that tiny bit of tape on the floor. Particularly this scene was in a bar scene that was very darkly lit. I don't know why Delia was in a bar.
Oh no, that was the work experience. The boats. You remember getting the captain on board for the boats? You had to have the drinking competition.
Oh yeah, no, this was like a bar. This was like Delia and Marty were out, maybe on a date. Were they ever on a date?
Yeah.
We were in a bar. I remember it was very dark lighting, and there was some something purple in there. Yeah, and I had to walk back with the drinks and hit this mark. But of course the tray's there. And like I said, I'm an endowed lady, and I had that, you know, everything bulges off there. You can't see under my bosom. So, you know, don't be rude and yell at me if I hit the mark. But then Michael said the same. He hated him. Yeah. So, yeah. And of course, play school would have been my dream job. But I'm very much like play school at work. My singing with the children is so animated, and my books are so animated, and my kids aren't scared of anything because I am the loudest troll under the bridge. I am the loudest, scariest giant who's going to eat all their bones up. They always jump when I first do it, and then they laugh.
I could see you as a player.
So yeah, I'd love to do that. Would have been a dream job. When I was working out at Channel Sydney out at the ABC, I saw the play school set, and Matt was calling me, come on, be on. I knew I wanted to be there.
Yeah.
But I've kind of created my own play school. Actually, where I work is called Playhouse, so I've kind of created my own play school now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually also had to hit our marks as well with the cameras.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So it was important that we hit the marks as well.
Well, it was important that we hit our marks too.
And then if we didn't, would we muck it up for you?
Well, no, not necessarily, because we could cheat a bit. So, you know.
Yeah, but camera's hard, isn't it? You know, we're sort of swinging those big machines around. Yeah, Isn't it funny when you talk about it? Like today I was saying, oh my God, what if I can't remember anything? When you're talking about the cameras hitting their marks, I can see the cameras. Like I can visualize them moving around. And then I get that, oh my God, I miss it feeling.
Yeah.
Come, Matt, you have to write a show for us and get us all back working.
Tell us about what you felt when the news came through during the filming of the Blackmore episodes that the show was going to be cancelled.
Sad, really sad. Probably not so sad for me, but sad for the people who've been working on it for years. You know, that's their livelihood. And I always remember Alan Dale came around. Remember Neighbours was in the other studio, and he sort of opened the door. And I don't know who said it. I seem to visualise it might have been Maggie saying it, but it may not have been. And he goes, "Oh, guys, so sorry, just heard the news." And whoever it was said, "Oh, yeah, sure, because now you're going to get the better studio. You're really sad we're going." And I mean, he was genuine, obviously, but it was just, that was funny, that statement.
Good old Jim Roberts.
Yeah, I think it's sad when any show ends for someone. And for the people who love it, who are still enjoying it. I think, you know, when that happens, maybe you just have to, you know what I would do if I was writing, I told you I watch EastEnders, and oh my God, I could so be a writer on that show, because sometimes their stories just become ridiculous. And I think, you know what writers need to do? Have a consulting group of people who watch the show, people who love it and watch it, or have a few groups that you can go to. And when you're not getting the ratings in the stories, consult them, see what they think should happen or shouldn't be happening. And then shows would be much more viable. They'd stay on longer.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Definitely. Now, there's conspiracy theories on the internet. Delia just disappeared after episode 679.
Aliens, Matt. It was aliens.
But was mentioned by Marty in episode 686, helping him decorate his new place. So what happened?
Well, to be honest, I have no idea, but let me be the writer here. So, look, nobody knows this, but Delia was actually pregnant. She was having a love child with Marty. And, of course, you know how
Mervin's love child.
Well, oh, I love that man. I absolutely love him.
Yeah.
He was so, you know, he told me, and I told you I'm gullible, right? I had laryngitis, and he said to me, "Oh, Desiree, you've got to look after your voice. You've got to be really careful with your voice." He goes, "Because I had it." He goes, "I had to go and see the throat doctor." And he goes, "What he does, he'll get down there and then he pulls out your vocal cords, and he'll be hitting them." And I believed him. He was going to be hitting my vocal cords with a tuning fork. Like, I must have been dumb. Maybe really low IQ. I don't know. But I believe he was the loveliest guy. And of course, he was one I was in awe of meeting, because I watched Adventure Island, and he was Fester Fumble on Adventure Island. Ho hum, all of you can come, all of you and the big brass band, boom ba dum ba dum be dum, did dum. I'd race home from school to watch it. Oh yeah, maybe no. Delia was a one guy girl.
One guy.
She was having, and that's why it wasn't just his room she was decorating; it was the nursery.
Oh, the nursery.
Now, I'm sorry, all the fans know that Delia would have liked to have remained a virgin till she got married, but one hot and steamy night, they had a love child. See, I'm a script writer. I've got it. I could have kept the show going. And then there might have been the talk that the baby could have been Mervin's, because, you know, Delia and Mervin were very close, but yeah, no, it's definitely Marty's child. Definitely. Well, yeah, that's what happened.
Sorted the mystery after 40 years.
I've solved it. You all know what happened now.
Yeah.
I'm getting waved through the glass door from my daughter and her boyfriend. It's like they probably have no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm going to be questioned about this later. What love child were you talking about?
I am looking at the time now. I might ask, is there a possibility?
I have no idea at the time. Did you see I had to put my glasses on before because you got so blurry? I'm like, all right, I'm really struggling to see them now. But I look like an old lady with my glasses on. Plus, they're not my pretty glasses. They're blue. They're not pink. I've lost my pink glasses. I don't know where they are.
Is
And, you know, I go on such a quest to get pink glasses.
Is there a possibility you could be kind enough? We do have a few more questions, but we have a lot of fan questions. Is there a possibility?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Could we do a part two? Well, I'm actually a little bit pushed for time, but could we do a part two?
You can.
That was episode 42 of Talking Prisoner. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Talking Prisoner, and share this interview everywhere you can. And please also like our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter pages. And this episode of Talking Prisoner will be available across all the podcast platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Amazon, and all the rest of them, and the talkingprisoner.com website. It's been an absolute pleasure, Desiree, and we will be back for part two in a few days.
Thank you so much. I've had a lovely trip down memory lane.
All right.
See you both